few people still finding a seat. Good morning. Welcome back to Windermere. 200 and something people. Holy cow. I can't imagine everybody wanting to come see this presentation. So exciting. First presentation of the year. For me, so you know, in my background, I've given a lot of presentations. I just realized this morning, I've never given one to a crowd where somebody other than myself was counting on the result. It's a little different pressure. So my name is Brad Green. My wife, Carrie, and I don't know where she ended up in the audience, but she's here. We came through the front gates of Windermere a little over 9 years ago now. We bought our first house. Thrilled, love it here. When we came in those front gates, my number one priority was this is gonna be the place I can golf forever. Isn't that cool? She saw the Girlfriends Club. Does it get any better than that? We found our place. We knew it almost as soon as we came in the gate. So here we are now 9 years later. Windermere's grown. We've got the new tiebreaker. We've got the new pickleball. We got all these other things going on. Guess what? I play pickleball. Never heard of it before. My golf game stinks. I try play bocce. But the things that change, the new programs, the new things that have been brought online since we first came here have done nothing but make us a better club. The only reason I mention that is not because my background is necessarily important to you, but everybody in the room has had a similar journey. Whether you've been here 1 year or 40 years, you're in some stage of what is your Windermere experience gonna be? And maybe when you came initially, it was maybe more golf oriented. Maybe you're a tennis player. I've never played tennis. It doesn't ultimately matter. What does matter, and I want this to be kind of the theme of today's meeting, I understand there's a divide in the membership. I understand people are at each other, and I want everybody to take a step back and just remember, we're friends, we're neighbors, some cases family. So just because somebody has a different perspective than you do, please don't let that become a wedge between you and your fellow members, okay? So the presentation gets really easy at this point. I hear it. You can sit at the tiebreaker. You can overhear it at the table next door to you. Well, the assessment's going to be this. It's going to be that. They're doing this. The board's cramming it. Let's talk about it today. But this is the theme that I want everybody to make sure we get, because this is going to be a question at the end, is how much is the assessment? So I want everybody to be ready. There's no assessment, period. That's simple. So the purpose of the meeting today, and we're going to zip through a lot. We've got a lot of information to cover. We know you've seen drawings before and you've been able to see some of the information online, but we understand the ultimate goal is people they want to know the financials, and they want to see how is this going to impact me and my future at Windermere. That's what we're trying to do. Know at the end of this, there's going to be some question and answer time, but we might not get to everybody's questions. We're going to try. Okay, but if we don't get to them today, we've left feedback forms, we'll talk more about that. Please get them to us. I promise every question that's come to my attention has been answered. I got 3 last night that haven't been answered, so if you're in the room, it's coming. Okay, the goal is to give you the information. We're gonna talk about how we got here a little bit. We're gonna show you the proposed driving range and golf learning center. We're gonna spend a lot of time looking at financials. Jonathan Beers, our CFO, is loving his presentation. And then we're going to talk about the next steps, okay? Any questions on that so far? One of the critical components to keep in mind, and I know this is boring stuff, but it's important. Windermere very much is driven by their vision and their mission statement, and 90 plus, I think now 92% of you have seen it. If you can't read it, it says preserve and strengthen Windermere as a premier private country club community in the Naples, Florida area. That's easy to say. It's harder to do. There is a reason we only have 3 homes for sale right now. I think it's 3. We're doing some things right. We can always be better. Our mission statement, provide current and future members and their families and guests with an exceptional experience. Who would vote against that? That's what we're all here for. Let's do it. Our core values, of course, sense of community, an exceptional experience for members, and strategic governance and management. I've been on the board now for 3 years. I get asked a lot, well, you're not very strategic. We don't get paid a lot either. Nobody's going to defend that everything is absolutely perfect, but boy, we do a darn good job. And the effort that's going on right now, regardless of what happened in the past, you maybe are disgruntled because you didn't like the survey or because of something Ryan said to you, whatever that is, it's over. We're going forward from this point. We're going to talk about the next steps for Windermere. We're presenting these ideas to you with an absolute open mind. There's nothing set in stone. These are what's been put together by a very big group. I've already gone ahead this slide, doesn't matter. This has been put together from a long process that started long before it even got to the survey. This has gone on for years. I was on the golf course committee. I didn't see Pat Martin. It was at least 4 years ago when that started. This process of planning is an ongoing and continuous effort. I'm taking too much time. Goals today, we absolutely want to address member needs as we look forward at our facilities plan. What do you all want? What does that look like? What does it cost? Can we do it with the budget that we talk about? That's what's important, okay? We're obviously going to address the needs that came out of that aspirational survey. And let me just say one word about the survey. It is a hot topic. We voted, we didn't vote. I hate the survey. They tricked us. They did. Again, it's water under the bridge. At the end of the day, no matter how you slice and dice the statistics that came out of those numbers, members want improved driving range and golf center. They want new dining room. That was a new one. And they want to have the pickleball in the activity center. Loud and clear. You can say, well, I chose option B, not option C. They all led to the same result. So what we're going to talk about today, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, we have all these other things that are out there. Okay, the activity center, we have a session just like this planned next Monday. Next Monday, yeah. Same idea for this. Today, we're focused here. So if you have a question about what color will the placemats be in the new dining room, that's not gonna work. We're talking about golf, the impact of golf, the driving range, and the learning center only, okay? There is a little bit of overlap with the activity center. That's okay. But we're going to try and stay on track. Once again, just make sure everybody saw that. So the last little bit here. You have no idea what the staff at Windermere has done to make this presentation alone happen today. I'm telling you right now, between Aaron, Kyle, and Steph and JB, all weekend long, they're at birthday parties, they're at their kids' soccer games, and we're emailing back and forth. That's a commitment to us. They did that for you. They don't get paid overtime. That's what they got. It's been an amazing effort working with them. On top of that, going back to that planning process, I'm not going to read all the names. This is just a small sampling of the committees and the teams that have been involved in steering where we're going. What do you think? How does this look? Do you like this? I don't like that. These committees have worked hard. The construction committee, they met every week, every other week, all summer long. That's a commitment. Hours. So what we're going to show you today, I'm going to start with Aaron. We're going to start with the driving range and let him go through that for you.
Morning. So first off, thank you for taking time away from playing golf this morning or pickleball or what you might normally do on a Monday to come listen to our presentation. We got a lot of information today and we look forward to presenting it. Just real quick, you may not know, but this season is actually my 10th season here at Windermere. Thank you. You know, I started here 10 years ago as someone that was recently married, had a 2-year-old son, I think, at the time, and now, you know, add on 10 years and 2 more children, and you know, it's been a long ride. But if you ask me why I came here 10 years ago, you know, 32 years old, it was a great opportunity. I was at Gateway Golf and Country Club at the time. I had spent 8 years at Mediterra. Everybody in South Florida knows that the Naples market is really where you want to be working-wise. So great opportunity to come here 10 years ago. But if I fast forward 10 years, why am I still here? 10 years, I mean, it'd be easy. Plenty of opportunity, not only in this market, but nationally to go spread my wings somewhere else, right? but 10 years is a commitment, and, you know, I got a great team. You know, not only Kyle, JB, Steph, everybody here in the room today, the guys on a golf course maintenance, you know, they make me look good every single day they're here. So 10 years. But secondly, the reason I'm still here is because of all of you. This has been a great place for me to work, a great place to have a balance between work and a family. And ultimately, the presentations and the proposals that we're putting forth today is because we want to continue to improve your experience as a member here at Windermere. So that is 100% our motivation. Trust me, if we don't do the driving range project next summer, my summer will be much easier than if we do. But I'm more than willing to give my time to do this type of work because I know at the end of the day it's going to be a great improvement for the club, and I hope that you guys all agree with me after this presentation. All right, so when we started back, you know, the golf course master plan, obviously a component of the golf course master plan was the driving range improvements. We hired Drew Rogers, who had spent a number of years working with Arthur Hills as our golf course architect, just with his familiarity with all things Arthur Hills. So we wanted to keep that continuity in terms of having an architect that understood arts concepts. So we worked with Drew, gave him some initial goals and objectives, got those designs back, vetted those designs with the golf committee, the golf course master plan committee, and that's really got us to the point where we are today. And if we jumbled all that up into a bowl, I think our two main goals coming out of this were centered around what you see here on the screen. Number one, what can we do to improve the safety of the driving range? The front tee to the back tee, if you're on the front of each end, it's only 220 yards. Now, some of you may wish you could hit a driver 220 yards again, but I think you'd be lying if you didn't acknowledge that there are individuals at this club that can do that. And, you know, Kyle could say that it is a very common occurrence for him to get either a concern or a complaint about golf balls going from one end to the other. So that was really a hot topic for us, is safety. And then you lump in the back chipping area. You know, that's a poor drive if you're hitting on number 9, whether it's a slice if you're a lefty or a hook if you're a righty. It's just a poor tee shot away from hitting somebody over in that area too. So as we were diving into this, we wanted to make sure that safety was definitely a key component to any new design. Secondly, going back to kind of what I initially said, we want to provide you guys with an exceptional practice area where you can improve your game, both long game and short game. It's not uncommon for me to drive by at the end of the day and still see half the range being used at 5 o'clock in the afternoon unless we close it down because we got to mow it the next day. So those were our two main goals with the design. And then this is just kind of a quick overview of what the slides will entail today. There's going to be pictures and comments for each of these areas. So we'll start out kind of showing, and every one of these slides is going to show you what we currently have and what we're proposing, just so you can have that side-by-side comparison. So we'll look at the current layout versus the proposed design, and then we'll really zero in on the front driving range area and what we refer to as the front chipping green and the small putting green. And then we'll go to the back driving range tee, look at how the changes we're proposing are impacting that. We'll look at the new proposed short game area, along with the potential changes to the first green on the green course. From there, we will look at some adjustments that need to be made to the tees to make this work. And ultimately, you may ask, well, how are we going to make the driving range longer? You know, we can't go out and buy land. You know, everything in Naples is sold out. Even if there was something for sale, it'd probably be some ungodly price that we wouldn't even want to entertain anyway. So there are some adjustments to the lakes that are needed to make this happen. So we'll go through all of those. All right, real quick, this slide shows you what we currently have and what we're proposing to have. So, you know, just real basic on the, if I can get this thing to work. There we go, maybe. Well, I'll just point. So obviously everybody knows, you know, up here on the far side, cart barn, so that's our front driving range tee. Then out in the middle we have what we all know now as 9 target greens. Back tee, current lake, current chipping area, and then we've shown how number 1 and number 9 are laid out there with the current proposal. Like Brad said, We do have the putting green and the first tees of gold 1 and gold white shown on this. We're going to try to avoid extensive conversation on that today because that's really only going to be done if the outdoor activity center is completed as well. And then looking over to the proposed area, we're going to get a lot more into detail on that, and all this stuff was sent out via email, available on the website. So if you haven't had a great opportunity to look at it, I would encourage you to do so, especially prior to the annual meeting. This slide shows everything that Drew has proposed, and it identifies each potential change in writing throughout the whole slide. So the one thing I do want to point out once again is this image does show the extended range being 270 yards from the front of the front tee to the front of the back tee. So if you think about how Kyle and his staff set up the stands each day, the stands will never be on the front of each side. So if it's on the front of the front, it'll be more towards the back on the back. So when you add that up, we're probably looking at anywhere from a 300-yard carry before someone could potentially get hit. So we feel that is a significant change and a significant improvement to what we currently have. And the other thing I want to highlight is you will notice we still have 9 target greens, 9 flags that you can hit at. They're much more pronounced, and I can tell you, seeing the grading plan, when you're standing on the tees, you're going to know exactly where these targets are with every shot you're hitting. Right now, if you're out there, if there wasn't flags out there, I don't think you'd even know what to hit towards. So we really want to make sure those target greens stand out from the driving range. As we zoom in, this is going to be the front driving range tee area. So on the left side, you can see how the current tee works, or where it's laid out. You can see the cart barn down there on the bottom of the screen just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at. And then what we refer to as the small putting green right next to the range tee, and then we all know about the front chipping area. If we look at the proposed, overall, the square footage of the tee doesn't change much. Actually stays relatively the same. The biggest difference with grading is if you think about the back tee right now, when you park your cart, the first 10 yards or so, you're kind of walking up a slight incline. So all of that is unusable. With the grading plan that Drew has come up with, we're going to try to bring that elevation down almost to the concrete so that you really are walking out onto a tee. Thus, we can maximize the actual usable square footage that we currently have. And you do see Kyle's little building popping in over there in the bottom right corner of the proposal. So any land that we do lose from that building, we're pretty confident that with the regrading plan, we can make up for that lost space. Then when you look at the small putting green, couple highlights there. It does shift a little bit, but it's almost double in size. The current small putting green is 2,800 square feet. The proposed small putting green is 4,900 square feet. One of the things that Kyle made me do is make sure our beautiful new clock is right in the middle of that green, which is kind of a common thing. If you go to some other clubs, Bay Hill comes to mind. You watch Arnold Palmer's golf tournament, you see his putting green at the nice Rolex clock right in the middle. So that was kind of a concept we thought about implementing here. And then as far as the front chipping green, the big thing you'll notice is it's sliding forward slightly. It'll give you more room to chip out in front. I think the intention is still going to be, I wish I could get this thing to work. We're still going to try to chip from here. We're not going to try to come out here and chip, because what do we say first? Our number one priority is safety. So, but to have a little bit more space and you're kind of chipping out towards the range instead of just having this kind of, here we go, this small little space right here. So just allowing for a little bit more practice space there, because we do know if you're using the front tee, you're more than likely just trying to get warmed up for your round. So, you want to hit a couple drives, maybe a couple wedges, what have you, knock a few putts in, and then hit a few chips and get in your cart and go enjoy 4 hours with 3 of your best friends of the club. So moving forward to the back tee. The one thing I do want to point out, and I haven't done it yet, but if you take time to look at this yourself, Drew and Joel, his associate, put these white lines in these images, and it shows you the yardage from the very front of the back of the front tee extending out through the entire range. So if I kind of zero in here on the current one, you can see here's the 250. There's another dash line here that's going to be 275. And then at the very back of the back tee is 300 yards. If you look at the proposed, look at where our 300 yard is. It's actually in front of it's at least 10 to 12 yards in front of the proposed new back tee. And then the back of the back tee actually stretches to 350 yards. So that's where we go from 220 to 270 carry from front to front. A couple other things I'll highlight here. The actual square footage of the back tee, once again, stays roughly the same. The cart path, everybody knows now you got to kind of park down that paver area or drive through the pavers and park up on the tee. So you're either hoofing your bag up to the tee, only grabbing a few clubs. This new proposal has a cart path that actually provides you access through the whole tee and the short game area. So you'll be able to drive back there, park, go to either area with ease, grab whatever clubs you want, take your whole bag if you want. So we think that's a nice feature as well. If we look at the practice area itself, once again, remember this is being relocated from the spot on number 9. Here's the one on number 9, maybe. Oh, sorry. Top left is the current chipping green. If you look at the proposed, the greens have shifted directly behind the back tee. We've gone from one green that was roughly 3,200 square feet to 2 greens that are almost 13,000 square feet combined. So, we feel like increasing size, once again, it's going to bring more value to your practice sessions. There are going to be multiple pins on each green. The greens themselves will provide different sections where you can hit into, so really give you a chance to hone in on your short game. There'll be 2 practice bunkers, along with, you can see there on the left side of the proposed back tee that there is a bunker that's being proposed as a fairway bunker as well. So you can, in this whole area, you can really practice any shot that would occur on the golf course. So for a screenings bunker, but we'll still look into that. If we look at the first green of the green course, you can see that it is sliding forward about 60 yards. Actually, the practice area green that's on your right is almost exactly where number 1 green course sits today. It will not be the green on number 1 green course. It will get redesigned, but the green itself on number 1 slides forward approximately 60 yards. And we'll talk about the impact on the tees on the next slide. 2 slides. So I wanted to show a little bit more of the versatility of the short game area. I already mentioned going from 3,300 square feet to 13,000. Actual chipping area goes from a half acre to 1.3 acres. And then when you look at this chart here that Drew put together for us where it says north green and south green, and then you guys can see the A, B, C, D, E throughout that area. And I know it's going to be hard to see here, but once again, another thing to maybe take a look at when you have time at your home. If you go from A to a certain color, whether it's on the north green or the south green, it's going to tell you the yardage potential within this area. And just a quick glance at that area, you can see that, obviously we could practice anything from close proximity chips all the way up to potentially 100-yard chips, depending on who's back there. So this versatility, we think, is going to give you a lot of opportunity on your one-on-one practice sessions, but just think about the short game clinics that Kyle and his staff are going to be able to put together, where you could walk back there, with your series of wedges and literally start chipping close to the green and work all the way back towards 100 yards, where, my good buddy from Iowa, Zach Johnson, won the Masters because he worked on that 100-yard wedge shot, whatever it was, 10, 12 years ago. So it's an important part of the game. And we think that this design allows you the opportunity to work on that. All right, getting into the tees. Okay, we moved number 1 green back 60 yards. What's that going to do to the golf hole? Our hope is by adjusting the tee, all the tees themselves, minus the back tee. The back tee is kind of fixed where it is because we have a cart path and a lake that divides the fitness center from the green course, that we can keep a very similar yardage for most people unless you play the back tee. Between the first and the second tee currently, there's a 64-yard gap in yardage. So if we slide all those tees back, like the image on the right shows, we'll be able to keep a very similar yardage despite moving the green back 60 yards. Now, the one thing I will point out too, if you remember the golf course master plan is, well, first the cart path, we proposed continuous concrete, which is probably, met with the most negative feedback, which is great. We put it out there. It wasn't very popular. We went back to the drawing board, and you can see on hole number 1, the cart path as proposed is running up the entire left side of the tees until it does run out. Then from there, you'll just drive through the turf. It doesn't, if you think about number 1 right now, it cuts right in front of, I guess it'd be between the 3rd and the 4th tee on that hole. But with the concept of having this continuous tee concept from a maintenance efficiency standpoint, we thought because we had to do this work anyway on the tees to keep the yardage similar, this would be a great opportunity to kind of show you that concept before we even get to any the additional work that's at earliest in 2027. Then if we look at number 9, because of the lake adjustment on number 9, you will see the tees on the right picture are shifting over some degree on the right. That might look kind of intimidating, but you can kind of see the circles in the image kind of providing some outlines of where the tees are at. If I can get this thing to work here. So this would kind of be your 1-2 tee. All right. Then the next circle, probably maybe your 3, 4, 5, and 6 all the way up. So depending on what tee you play, you might get a better visual of some water, but we don't really feel like it's going to come and play off the tee. And in regards to the cart path will shift to the opposite side of the tees just so that we're not driving in a really tight spot between tees and water. And then once again, that cart path will kind of stop and you'll just continue to drive through the turf and pick up concrete on the opposite side of the golf hole as you return to the green. So lake adjustments. To do all this, we do have to modify the lake behind the back driving range tee the most. That lake right now is 100,000 square feet. All of the water bodies in South Florida are governed by South Florida Water Management, and their policy is for every foot you fill in, you have to recapture somewhere else. So the proposed lake adjustments, the lake directly behind the range that you see now between the range and the tees on number 9, that lake will be roughly 91,000 square feet, give or take. So we need another 9,000. That's when we went up here between the fairways. Sorry, now it's red. So right up here, this is about a 9,000 square foot increase right here. And if you think about that hole, that area is currently occupied by palmetto bushes, some pine trees, some cypress trees. So in the event that we cannot get the full 100,000, which right now we're projecting not to, that would be our next opportunity to grab the last 9,000 square feet, just to make sure we meet what South Florida Water Management would expect of us when we're modifying lakes. Once again, we just kind of go back to the overall layout. Hopefully that provided some clarity and answered some questions, and I know we'll have questions later. Do we want to give any time now before we get into the... All right, so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kyle.
Well, Aaron said it best. This guy right here is totally committed to Windermere. The 9-10 years he's been here. Him and his family have grown with the club, and it's a joy working with him there. So a little bit of story about myself. This is going to be my 15th year here at the club. Started as just a young whippersnapper in 2009, down here as an intern, and then spent 6 years going back and forth between Windermere and a small club in southeast Wisconsin. And ultimately coming to the realization, where do I want to be? Do I want to shovel snow in the winter, or do I want to be in South Florida? Easy switch, great opportunity for me to come down here. And as Aaron alluded to, there's one reason that I and him are still here is because of you guys. It's not hard to come to work. It's not hard to put in the extra time to come here to know that our work is appreciated and this club continues to go forward. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming today. I'm sad to see my tee sheet is extremely light this morning, so don't know where I'm going to pick up that extra revenue, but that's all right. So I really wanted to kind of go ahead and take a look at the Golf Learning Center and what could be proposed for an added amenity here at the club on the Front Range. And, this really kind of boils down to, the direction of the club. How can we go ahead and keep looking at industry trends? How can we preserve ourselves in the Naples market? How can we offer you an exceptional experience? If we're not looking at technology in this club, we're not really moving forward. And I know it's a little unsettling, but when we went to full online tee time reservations, I thought we were going to go down and never come back. But we got over it. Same thing with the GPS and the carts. A lot of comments, oh, we don't need that. We're a resort course. This is never going to work. I'm never going to use it. Now we go to other courses and we feel lost without the GPS unit. So I want to be open, and I want to, of course, go through this here and kind of show you what kind of opportunities there are with the Golf Learning Center that's going to go hand in hand with the big aspect of the driving range and the safety. If we're going to go ahead and have an opportunity here at Windermere to impose some technology and put a plan together, if we're ever going to want a Golf Learning Center here at the club, now is the time to do it. This is going to be the most cost effective. This is going to be the least disruptive for all of you here at the membership. And when I'm putting together a plan, that's kind of how I'd like to go. I don't want to put a plan together that's going to be the most expensive and cause you all a bunch of headaches. So let's jump up in and see here. So when we look at the Golf Learning Center, why would it be there? Kind of alluded to it. Provide you an exceptional practice experience to help you with your game. Have you perform at the highest level. Technology, it is the future. It is the way that golf is going. It is a great tool for the members, for our great level of instructors, for us to have those tools to help you get those fine-tuned movements. Technology is here to stay. And then also when we look at the climate that we have here, yes, it doesn't snow, hopefully. But for us to have 365 days here in South Florida, half of it is extremely hot. So we're still looking at how we can go ahead and provide a year-round place where all members can go and enjoy it, so that we can really go ahead and play golf, we can develop our game, we can practice, and we can enjoy the building. So here is a sketch of the front driving range. The long rectangle there is the cart barn. You can see the orientation of where the proposed building would be. Bring our view down to this circle here at the bottom. This is where that current bunker is right there. So you can see that this buffer right here in between the driving range and number 1 of the green golf course and everybody at Glen Devon, I believe it is, there's going to be no interruption to anything that you would see. We're still going to have that buffer of trees and everything that is there. Everything is going to be just set right in there on that corner of the driving range. And we have some sketches. Top view would be here where you would be looking at as you were walking up onto the driving range. And the bottom left would be the sketch of the 3 bays that would be looking as you were looking back from the driving range itself at the building. And we'll spend a little time in the interior. So yes, we are going to have 3 bays. We will have a putting room, and I've got some great videos here that'll be very quick for you guys to see here in a second. We're also going to incorporate the kind of indoor-outdoor social activity with a nice lounge. We've got offices, we've got bathrooms, which are very important. Indoor, inside, and outside access. So if the Golf Learning Center is open, we can get in from the inside. Let me get it over there. Right here is where we'd be able to walk in from the inside. If the Learning Center is not open, we still have that access to utilize the restrooms from the outside coming in. On the turn in between, if you're going over the green golf course, or if you're on the driving range stop and need to use the facilities, we've got it for you right there. And here's a rendering of what the potential could look like in the Golf Learning Center. So this is as you'd walk in the front door. 3 bays would be on your left. Offices, club repair, and then in the far view there would be where the picture window is, would be the putting room. All right, so the learning bays themselves, another nice rendering right here. This would be considered our bay 1, our northernmost bay, which would do a multitude of things. We would be able to do the simulated golf, we'd be able to do the practice, we would be able to instruct from there, but we kind of coined bay 1 as closest to the actual social area. That would be kind of our simulator bay in the grand scheme of everything, but then another look over here of what could happen there with covered instruction. Back to our long view, just another look at it. 3 bays on the left, putting room on the far side, but really looking at what can we do in there. Well, the indoor simulation is going to be a big aspect of what we're looking for too. So in the proposed putting room, I call it a room, it's not really a room, it's just going to be a half glass, it's going to be a focal point. But I've got a short little video here that I'd just like to introduce you to what the Zen putting green is and what it can potentially do for us. So how long do you think it took for them to get that video? Is that guy really that good? So another view, this would be from the putting room, kind of looking back out. You know, this is just a rendering here. We'd kind of envision a little bit more of a glass wall break off of it, but the putting green itself will do a lot of things for us. One, it's up there for you to use, which is climate controlled, out of the sun, raining, anytime. It's there to use. But the other, what's that? Free, included. It's there. It's for you to use. Another great aspect here is, you know, with the technology that we have to, you know, put the launch monitor on there and actually have it see your stroke. We can do a lot of fitting. We can do a lot of instruction on this. Everybody knows that 10-foot putt straight up the hill is the easiest putt we could have, right? How many of us make that? Not too many, because I'm right in that boat with you. So good opportunity here to really utilize putting in practice in a climate-controlled area, which we shouldn't have any excuses to be a great putter. So the TrackMan software, we talked about technology. There's 2 big aspects to it. What is going to go in the Learning Center, known as TrackMan, the TM4 units themselves, and then what is known as TrackMan Range, which will be on the back area of our driving range. But we're going to go to the indoor here in another little quick video just to kind of show you the capability of what TrackMan has to offer and what we'd be looking for. Okay, a lot to kind of take in there, but I want to break it down into kind of three areas of what the TrackMan indoor TM4 units will do. Top left picture there is where we would talk about swing analysis. It'll give you all the parameters on your swing, probably some you don't even want to know. But the majority of them, when we start looking at them in real time, which is right there, especially for instruction, there is nothing better in the added value that you get from a lesson, having the opportunity to see exactly what's going on right there in front of you with real data that is, of course, yours. We can compare that to maybe the 1%ers of the world. We can see and take data from them on where we may want to be a little bit better so that we can ultimately perform at a little bit higher level. Over here on the right, these are, I think, 200 different golf courses that we are able to go ahead and pull up and play 18 holes at. Maybe we don't have a chance to travel all over the country or all over the world to go play some golf courses. This right here, as you saw in that video, those renderings, those real-life images, Windermere is going to be on there as well. It's going to be depicted exactly what our golf course looks like. We could practice those par 3 shots over the water without having to lose a golf ball. Quite interesting, a lot of fun. And then on the bottom, there are a lot of games, a lot of fun, a lot of social, a lot of other things that can be done with this unit that I encourage everybody to, get excited about that could potentially be in our Golf Learning Center. And then one more video here, and this is TrackMan Range. This is something that is free. It will be installed, could be potentially installed on the back range, which will pretty much be the TrackMan launch monitor, but off the turf, and is there in any spot that we have, anywhere the stands are, 365 days a year.
Which allows players at all levels to track their shots via a free app on their mobile devices. The app contains a wide variety of practice, performance, and entertainment features, thereby catering perfectly to any player type or practice situation. For game improvement, 8 performance parameters are instantly available for analysis and review, making self-improvement and continuous learning effective and effortless. Performance data include ball speed, launch direction, carry, total, and distance to pin. For social moments with friends and family, a series of entertaining games allow players to get competitive while having fun. Applications like Capture the Flag, Hit It, or Bullseye make players stay longer at the range, all while getting better at their game. To boost the player engagement even further, each TrackMan-powered range is perfectly replicated in the app, including exact locations of flags, greens, and bunkers, thereby creating an even stronger connection between the app's features and the range in front of the player. The technology behind the system is the same technology used by the top 100 players in the world, where data accuracy and fast learning practice features are creating new, fun player experiences at the range. There's something for everyone at a TrackMan-powered range.
So again, a lot to kind of take in there. So we're going to go on this top visual here, this black picture, and these are actually, it's going to be a 3 radar system that would be installed, affixed on the back range. 1 radar behind the T-top itself, and then 2 kind of mid-mast down the range. And they will go ahead, and the app is free. It's downloadable. You can do it on any smart device, whether it's iPad or an iPhone or Android. And at that point in time, you're going to go to the back range. You would pull it up. You would hit 1 shot. It would say, did you just hit it from here? You would hit yes. and it would go ahead and track on all these parameters, real life seeking technology. The radar will go ahead and map everything out for your practice session or whatever you're doing out there. So on this bottom right picture here, we can go, how far does my 8-iron go? Who knows it? Nobody's hands up. This is a great chance. This right here will go ahead and once you have that app, everything that is on here session to session, Monday to Friday, January to next January, it always saves your data so you can really kind of progress along with your player development to make sure that you're working on the right things that maybe your instructor are kind of pushing you towards or that you found out on yourself. So TrackMan range on the back range, included, free, just takes a mobile app and is available to everybody here at the club with a great opportunity to pretty much perform at a higher level. And that's what I have, and I'm sure Jonathan's super excited to come on up here and talk about the financials. Thank you.
For those who don't know me, I've been the CFO for the last 4 years. I try to stay in my office at all times, but on occasion, I'll come out here. I don't do presentations, but my 2 cats last night said that I did a great job, so let's hope for the best. The construction committee and the management team have been meeting together for the last 6 months on a biweekly basis. At this point in time, 93% of the golf project costs are based on contractor proposals and estimates based on the design documents from the architect. 7% are from management estimates tied to landscaping and permits. Looking at the Golf Learning Center, the current construction costs are at $2.7 million. That's a hard cost at $1.5 million, including building, utilities, site prep, and landscape, and soft costs of just over $1 million for design, engineering, and FF&E. We're using a 10% contingency or $152,000 for that side of the project. The driving range and practice facilities are running at about $3 million, and that's $2.86 million of coursework and a 5.5% or $150,000 contingency. These projects are proposed to be funded through cash on hand and initial and future ICA's receipts, not a special assessment. In the start of the 24 financial year, the club had $9.3 million of capital funds. That includes $2.2 million in special assessments to cover future loan payments on the FMP loan, $900,000 in capital reserves, and $6.2 million in the capital improvement fund. The chart right here outlines the 5-year cash flow for the capital improvement fund only. In the next 5 years, $28 million of receipts are projected, including 14.5 in ICAs, dues and interest at 13.6. In the same period of time, $31 million of uses are projected, including proposed aspirational projects of $16 million and $15 million of replacements tied to the club's reserve study. The net effect of the 5 years is a $3.2 million reduction in the capital fund balance to $3 million at the end of 2028. The uses during this time period include all the projects that have been proposed through the planning, including the 3 projects for next year, the clubhouse, and 1.5 golf courses, given the time frame. The majority of items within the cash projection are manageable and calculable, and on a monthly basis, these factors are reviewed and adjusted as needed. The key factor of risk within these are tied to the initial capital assessments that were received on an annual basis. For that purpose, to mitigate this risk, we use a conservative approach for this projection of just 27 or a 4% resident turnover ratio. To put that in perspective, in the pre-COVID years of 2015 to 2019, the club recognized an average of 35, which is 30% greater than we're projecting. During the last 4 years, that number increased to 43, or 59% greater than that value. It is true that currently the real estate inventory is low, and that in the past year, we recognized 23 ICA transactions, which is the lowest it's been since 2012. if the key factor is that there's a high level of interest from the external part of Naples to Windermere Country Club. I think Sherry has a list of 75 people that are looking for houses at Windermere. And based on normal, decisions and life realities, we do expect that turnover will continue at the club. And if future receipts drop or future costs increase, you will delay or scale back upcoming projects. Okay, I was supposed to fly in to surprise you at the $21, but didn't. Based on understanding that the ongoing costs of these projects are completely as much important as the cost of actually completing the projects, we have done a complete review of the operational programming and the future projected capital replacements to come up with a number that would affect your capital dues and operational dues on an annual basis based on these projects, that being $21 per month and $257 a year per golf member. And in doing so, that equates to $200,000 of additional operational expenses that cover janitorial, maintenance, payroll, property taxes, insurance, supplies, utilities, et cetera, partially offset by $109,000 in increased gross profit tied to $192,000 in increased revenues for bay rentals, increased golf club sales, and other receipts net of cost of sales. So we have done our full review of this situation, and I think that we are able to provide an accurate picture financially of what these projects hold going forwards.
Jonathan said to me the other day when we were talking about this, he said, hey, if I'm going to do my first presentation, I might as well do it in front of 200 people. All right, questions and answers. This will be fun. Before I get to questions and answers, I just want to do a quick recap of what we've talked about so everybody's fully in sync with where and what we're talking about. So the driving range enhancements that Aaron went through really have lots of benefits, but extended driving range and improved safety, I can't stress the safety issue. I might not be an insurance salesman, but if I were, and I knew somebody that got hit in the head on a driving range where they've acknowledged, in fact, stood in front of the group and said, we have a driving range safety issue, that seems like a pretty easy case. We have to address the safety issue. Okay, so whether we do this project or not, that's okay, we'll decide that. But if we don't do this project, maybe the back range needs to be closed. Maybe we need to go to those spongier balls that don't fly as far. I don't know what the solution is, but we do need to be aware of that. So certainly adding the defined target greens, the significance of the expanded short game section is going to be huge. And TrackMan Range really offers an opportunity for all those of you that are out at the back range. I don't go out there very much. But if you go out there, the ability to actually have some true feedback would be very powerful. Inside, we've got the Zen putting stage, the 3 TrackMan hitting bays. I get it. We're going to talk about the why do we need 3. We'll go through all that stuff. But professional lessons, if you're going to get a lesson from a pro, they can stand behind you and tell you, Brad, you're doing this. Or they can show you the numbers, show you everything. It's the same price to you. It's a way better lesson. Your ability to get better is going to be significantly increased. The bar lounge for special events, okay. This is one I get. We're going to talk about it again. Why another bar? Think a different way. We're trying to have this place be something that can be utilized by the members as a perk. Imagine maybe you're here and it's too hot, it's raining outside, and you got 3 friends, let's make a foursome. We're going to go play Pebble Beach. And maybe, you know what, it turns into a Thursday evening league that starts at 7 o'clock. There's a lot of opportunities that we haven't really explored, but it's going to happen. Again, $21 a month, $257 annually, still no assessment. Okay, let's get to some real questions and answers. So I've had maybe 70 emails so far of questions that weren't duplicates. Some of them were duplicates. Some of those are real common. So let's talk about a couple of them. We're going to have these TrackMan devices inside. What's it going to cost me to use them? I get it. When we first sat in the meetings, the idea was it should cost zero. But at the same time, we're being a little more responsible and saying, look, people that aren't going to use it maybe shouldn't have to pay so much. So to keep the price down, we came up, right now we're thinking, if you're going to go play simulator golf is I'm playing Pebble Beach, maybe I'm playing the Windermere course, but I'm playing it indoors, that's going to have a fee with it. Right now, we've pegged $20. Hopefully, usage and other programming allows us to drive that price down. But of no charge, the things that are no charge, there's no upcharge for lessons out there. There's no charge for going to the bay if it's not scheduled for a lesson, a club fitting. You can go there and you can hit using the analytics piece of it. You're not playing Pebble Beach, but you're able to use the analytics piece of the tool as long as it's not in use. Okay? That's one of the reasons that we need 3 bays. Other clubs in Naples have built facilities with 2 bays. How much time do you think those bays are available for member use? 0. So in order for there to be time for you to actually be able to use it outside of instruction and club fitting, we need 3 bays. Okay? Add to that the incremental cost of a 3rd bay. It isn't that big of a deal. Okay? And of course, TrackMan range on the back range is going to be a lot of fun for everybody. Another common question. We talk about safety. Why do we have to do both of these projects at one time? Seems silly to me. We don't need all this stuff. All right, so let's think now in your own mind, you're going to do a house renovation, but you're only going to do your kitchen this year. Next year, you're going to do your living room. Then next year, you're going to do the bathrooms. You're going to have contractors that basically live there, not to mention each individual project gets more expensive because you're not taking advantage of the synergy of having the bulldozer already here. So it makes a lot of sense to put the 2 projects together, okay? Another advantage is when we do this project and let's say we say we're gonna go forward, we're gonna shut the range down for a period of time because we're gonna be some heavy equipment out there. We wanna do that one time. For members that are here, you shouldn't have to have the range shut down 3 consecutive summers. That would just be poor planning, okay? And of course, the other reason why do it, we have the money. So next steps. We're going to get back to questions. Later today, you're going to get another informational packet about the upcoming Activities Center presentation. Again, that's going to be next Monday. Same format as this. More details about what that is, what it impacts. That is the showcase. And then finally, in November 15th, is the full town hall meeting. So now before we even got back to Naples this year, that was all that was on the calendar was the town hall meeting. We hear you. We want to ask questions. We want to know about this. We need more details. That's where these sessions came from. Okay? We're absolutely listening. We're trying to communicate. I can't answer a question if you don't ask it. Can't direct it to the right person. I promise JB has the financial numbers down. If you ask him how much are the urinal cakes going to cost in the men's bathroom, it's probably in there. Okay, before I get to the final questions. We passed out some half sheets of paper. This is an interesting thing to try with this group. I'm hopeful that anybody that has any comments, questions, suggestions, anything you have, feel free to write it on there. If you want us to contact you back because you need clarification, put your name on there. If you don't want, if it's a bad comment about me, that's fine, don't put your name on there. But please fill those out. We'd really like to have that back. That's very helpful in steering this. Okay, so some really common questions. These are the big ones. And I know this one's confusing. How much is the assessment? 0. How will this affect my dues? $21 a month. Kind of see how this is going, right? Do we really need to spend money on the driving range? Absolutely not. We don't need any of this. We don't need air conditioning here either. We don't need those nice new carts. We could have done carts with no roofs and it would still get around. We could start trimming dollars left and right. But there are some things at a golf club, particularly a premium golf club, that you need. One of them is a nice driving range. Okay? It's just my 2 cents. If you disagree, that's okay. We're still friends. Why do we need bathrooms on the driving range? Well, the only reason you wouldn't have bathrooms is because you're, I guess, trying to penalize somebody that needs to use the bathroom. The fact is, as people make the turn, right now the ladies have to go into the women's locker room. It takes extra time. We take as much as a half hour sometimes making the turn. This is one advantage, having a bathroom close there. The other one is you're up there practicing and you need to use the restroom. Your practice session doesn't need to stop for a half hour while you go down to the clubhouse. There are a lot of advantages to that. We're not in a place that we're cutting out all accessories. We're adding amenities. That'd just be a nice to have. Why can't we vote for non-bundled projects? This is a hot topic. Meaning the driving range and the short game center are lumped together with the golf learning center. Currently, because we believe very strongly that they should be done together, it would be irresponsible to say, look, we're going to split them apart. However, I'll throw it out there. If you don't want them, you want to do them different, we'll respond to that, and maybe we got to change that. Okay? There's nothing set in stone here. Nobody's pushing anything down anybody's throat. We're trying to gauge what do the members want. The smartest investment for our club is to do them at the same time. But sometimes we do things at Windermere that aren't always smart. How much do sports members pay for this? Anybody know? Zero. Sports members don't pay for golf. They have some use of the facilities, but they don't pay for driving range, or I'm sorry, pay for this assessments. Yes? We'll come back. Can we come back to that? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to come back to it. He said that's partially true because the money that was paid for the ICAs, we'll get him a microphone, okay? We'll make sure the question gets heard. Where can I get more information? So we've added to the Windermere website under governance, facilities, master planning, facilities planning information. Everything that we're trying to have, we're putting up there. So as it changes, we had some financial numbers that changed over the weekend. So as they change, we're updating that information. There's a document there, frequently asked questions. All of the questions are ending up there. So if you're willing to take the time to read it, a lot of the questions have been answered. It's getting big, and that's okay. So please check that out. And when will we vote? The other hot topic. We are not voting until everybody is content that we've provided the right information that you need to make a decision. There's no line in the sand, we got to have an answer by this date. We think we can accomplish it. Hopefully we can accomplish it by the time we get to that town hall meeting. But if we're not successful in communicating the direction and the cost to your comfort level, we'll wait. We do have some realistic constraints though, and let's be real. If we don't commit to the people that are going to actually do the work, say, I don't know, by December or early January, they're not available. So just by delaying because of the thought process, you potentially push the projects off at least another year, and guess what happens to costs in another year? They're going to go up again. So just facts. Oop, I don't have another slide. We're lost. All right, there's another slide that's supposed to just say, questions from you. So we have a couple microphones. JB's up here, Aaron's up here, Kyle's up here. We will do our best to answer, and all I want to ask is when you say a question, please let us respond. Let's not shout, okay, or let's not yell, because the crowd can't hear. Steph's got it. So who's got a question? Back in the back here. I can't see. Is that Dave Bunker? Yes.
Yeah, who's got the microphone? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to go? Okay. Great job. Thank you. I think it's a great plan. My one question is about thinking forward. Clubhouse renovation is one topic. How does that kind of factor in here? In other words, there's no assessment for what we've spoken about, which I'm 100% in favor of, by the way. But with anticipated other projects in the future, how might that affect any potential assessment
Yeah, I mean, I think over the last few years since the FMP was voted on, it's been a directive and a plan not to charge special assessments for future capital projects. So based on the current capital projection, that would not indicate a need for capital assessment for any of these projects. Obviously, if ICA slid, we'd have to, adjust back certain capital projects or reduce the scope, as I previously mentioned. But there's no conversation of assessments for any of the things that have been spoken of through the strategic planning process.
I'd just add to that too. So we're not talking about the dining room today, but the dining room is in the plan. And in the 5-year financial forward-looking model that JB showed us, it's included in there as if we were doing it. Okay, now it's a little bit of a guesstimate as to what that number is, but there is a number that's in there. And in 2028, we still $3 million or something still in the capital reserve fund. Okay, so it's being planned for even though we don't know exactly what it is. Yes.
Yes, also, my thank you for all the effort by all the board members, the committee members. You've done a fantastic job. Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. When you said that the cost is borne not by the sports members, unless I'm mistaken, not only the initial capital contribution, but the annual dues related to the capital fund paid by everybody, okay, a different amount for sports members and golf members on the annual basis. But those funds are commingled. So indeed, this golf edition is indeed being funded by monies from every member, not just golf members.
Yeah, I see him.
So the way the capital dues are allocated, and this was derived a number of years ago through a group of past presidents, is that the gross fixed assets, which is before depreciation, not to bore you, but gets allocated between golf-related and non-golf-related values. And therefore, the sports dues is broken out to basically 69% of, 69 cents on the dollar of a golf dues. And this is how we create that value. No, they are commingled after the fact, but if you consider during the FMP, we used $5 million of funds to do sports-only activities. I think that we've been heavy-handed in the actual sports-related sides of things, and if we kind of spend the time to break things out, that maybe the golf might have actually lost out on the deal. So I don't think that that there's any issue for the 20% of sports members being, losing out financially on these financial decisions, if that makes sense.
All right. I have a question for Kyle. Oh. TrackMan Range. How many people can be using the TrackMan Range with their app at one time in the back?
Yeah, great question. So we usually set up on the back range anywhere from 10 to 12 stands. We can almost go up to 18 across the entire back. Any person in any one of those stands, 1, 12, 18, whoever stance that we have out there, are all going to be able to utilize it at the same time.
Brad, I'm sorry. Everybody knows I can't see. If anybody's speaking, could you please identify yourself so I can know who's talking?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll go right behind you.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, Sandra Elliott. I appreciate the sort of the pause that we're taking, and I'm really feeling much more informed. The one thing, and it sort of goes back to the first question that was asked, that we're talking about clubhouse renovation, and we've sort of talked about the fact that there's sort of a random sort of $3 million put in there for a future clubhouse renovation. But I ask that maybe we take a little bit of a pause and think about what our priorities are and what we're talking about for clubhouse renovation so that we can maybe build in a more realistic number, because I think there's a lot of conversation about what this clubhouse could be and what our greatest asset is with this clubhouse, which is a wraparound deck, perhaps a bar on here. There's a whole bunch of things that we can talk about, which food and beverage, expanded use of F&B so that we've got staffing year-round, staffing 7 days a week, all that kind of stuff, and adding more facilities where we have different staffing issues and all that kind of stuff. I'd like to see a more comprehensive plan so that we understand what food and beverage is going to be before we fully expand all the sports stuff. And I love what we've got here. I love this place, but I don't think we've got enough emphasis on what's happening with F&B and our dining facilities and what our greatest facilities are in terms of food and beverage.
So the value for the clubhouse is $6 million, and that would be in the 25 financial year. So that's within the 5-year projection. As far as expanding food and beverage services to the clubhouse beyond the tiebreaker, right now we lose about $1.5 million. We can lose more if you'd like, but we're trying to be conservative on exactly the approach that we handle. For instance, during the seasonal months where we have the clubhouse open for lunch and for the 20 people that want to come use it, we use $250,000 of cash to fund the operations within here. So there's a dynamic of how far do you go with making sure that this place is open all the time and the tiebreaker is open all the time. And that's where the CEO and the management team kind of work to identify what the membership want. And right now I think we've been talking about saving money.
Sorry, let me expand on that. You picked the one part about open year-round. What I mean is we've all been back since October, and let's not go into where it's being staffed. Let's talk about the wraparound deck, expanding the usage of here during season, having more use.
Okay, Sandra, could I just answer you? Because having been on the facilities master plan before,
Yep.
and then on the board,
Yep.
and then on the facilities master plan again,
Yep.
we did the 5-year strategic plan that looked at exactly those things.
Yep.
And when we did the survey, we were actually surprised at how many people ranked this facility as number 1, but more ranked the golf course as number 1. So all of those things about including wraparound decks, dining that includes being outdoors, food and beverage improvements, that is all being worked on by Facilities Master Plan. But that is not this year. So we looked at 5 years ahead, because that's, you have to be proactive in planning as these things happen. And we're not ready to do this yet.
I understand, Aniv, and I also have built 2 clubhouses in Chapel Hill and have been on long-range planning and strategic planning committees as well. So I'm familiar with this concept, but I think we keep throwing out non-assessments, and I understand that. So I'd just like to have a better understanding of, maybe just a small understanding of what maybe our long-range plan is for this clubhouse. And we could take a little bit of a pause so we understand what our commitment is going to be, so we have a better idea of what an assessment might be if we want to get.
No assessments, period. There will be no assessment. That's been committed to.
No assessment. When I ran for office, I promised no assessment for 10 years from when we began with the last assessment that was covered with this club.
So I don't want to get sidetracked on the clubhouse, but I just there's some factors out there. We do have a built-in pause, and that happens purely because we can't do anything with the clubhouse for at least a year. But in the interim time, Sandra, we will absolutely be reviewing those things again, and they have to be redone. And what then, at some point, there'll be a meeting like this with the membership. Hey, we're thinking about this wrap-in porch, and it's this and this. But there's a lot of factors that can change between now and then, too. We'll know more, how did the ICA fees go this year? What happened next year? What if we get 60 homes this year and 60 homes next year? Now we're in a different position. We can talk about different things. So there's a lot of unknowns. You have to do it in a sequence that meets the majority of the member needs, and that's what we're trying to do. So go ahead.
Hi, Susie DeCourcy. I just have a question on, I know $21 a month is minimal to everybody in this room, but it appears to me that dues increases are just a workaround from assessments. You know, it still costs us more out of pocket, so I'm concerned that that's going to continue year after year for all these things as a way to get more money to pay for them versus no assessments. So can you answer that, please?
Well, I don't know that I can answer it and promise you something. I would absolutely say this, though. We live in a community, not just Windermere, Naples, that isn't getting less expensive over the years to come. Okay, so there are going to be things that cost more. The inflation rate alone has impacted the cost of food and other things. Our labor rates are way up. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, Susie, that you're not, I mean, you're right. As you go forward in any business, the costs are continually going to change. And what are we faced with, particularly in Naples, Florida? Thank heavens we have more people wanting to play golf, because before COVID, people weren't playing as much golf. That was a little scary too. So it's meant to be put together as a package. Hey, members, what do you think? Give us your feedback. That's where we are now, is in that feedback stage.
Hi, Susie, it's Karen. I think there was a very good,
They need your name.
oh, I'm Karen Osar, and I've been on audit and finance on the board. There was a very clear slide that explained, there was a joke about the cakes in the men's urinals that showed that the increment of $21 or so a month was going for janitorial, maintenance, toilet paper, you have it. It was not going for anything that's capital. So I think Jonathan's explanation showed that we're not treating increases in dues or expenses, using that as a place to hide capital.
Member driven, that's the goal, member driven. I'll give you this microphone because I can't get you.
Thank you. Hi, Bonnie Butera. I was here last year and you did a wonderful presentation about changing individual holes on the golf course. Is that still on the table, off the table?
Yeah, so that's the golf course master plan, which we worked 4 or 5 years on. And it's a living, breathing document that is part of the 5-year plan. It's out there that let's take each course in turn and we'll do those. But the specific details of those, again, there's cost estimates, what that's going to take, part of the 5-year long-range plan, but not part of today's plan. Okay? I'll get Ed.
Nice presentation, very informative. Thank you all for working all weekend. We really appreciate it. My question is, I actually have 2 questions for Jonathan. One, Jonathan, 6 months ago, the former manager stood up here and stated that if we do not sell 27 homes, then the project stops. All planning stops. We put it on pause until we see an increase in home sales and ICA dues. So why did he say that? What was the impetus for? You can use this.
If we have to go back and forth, at least we can save the efforts. And I don't recall that ever happening, but if you say it did, that's perfectly fine.
Were you not here?
I guess I'm focused on back. That's perfectly fine. I'm not, it's not, you don't dispute that. Ryan's not here anymore, so it doesn't matter. But
well, it does matter.
The fact of the matter is, for the capital projection, we are using 27 ICAs per year, and that is what is to be a reasonable approach to things. Now, I'm not done yet.
No, I know.
So I don't personally think of a set number that would say shut this thing down. That's just my own personal and professional analysis, and I spend a lot of time on the capital projection more than anyone else in the club. So.
Well,
Yeah, Ed, I think what it is at one time there was a presentation of everything in the proposed 5-year strategic plan. That included this, it included what we're going to talk about at the activities center, and then it included a big long-range golf plan, and then it also included this building and the dining here. What was said at the time was that all of these projections, and Jonathan referenced earlier, being able to do all this reflected a capital budget that assumed so many, I think it was 27 houses a year, which is conservative relative to the pre-COVID numbers, which Jonathan also explained. What was said was, if we weren't accruing at a rate that got us to the capital that we expected, whether it's 30 houses one year and 25 the next or whatever, then we would pause in order that not to have assessments. We would wait for those ICAs to build up. It wasn't that if any given year we didn't have 27 ICAs, then we would stop everything. So I think that's the clarification.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, then, let me lead into the second question that I have is, and this goes back to Susie's question, is that we have seen an increase in dues, dramatic increase over the last 2 years that probably amount to around 20%. And we now are adding a new facility that is not free. There's nothing that's free. If we're adding $5 or $6 million worth of capital improvements, there's still going to be, there are offices in that building, there's bathrooms that have to be cleaned, there are going to be probably new personnel that are going to be added as a result of that. And I would like to see some hard figures in relation to those increased expenses that are going to occur, rather than sitting here in 2025 and being said that we're going to have another 15% dues increase because of the added cost of all these capital programs. So I think we need more information. I personally would like to see a pause, and I think this is all a great idea, but I would like to see maybe a one-year pause when we can put together a full plan of all the different improvements that we're expecting to make, just as an outline so that we have an idea. And I think there is one floating around somewhere, that we have a clearer understanding of what the impact of all this is going to be. That would include dues increases, what happens, maybe a couple alternatives. Brad said that we only have 3 homes for sale this year, or remaining in our inventory. I mean, if we end up with 3 homes for sale, or if only 3 homes were to sell next year, that would be a pause.
That would definitely be a pause for sure. Just to kind of put in perspective, for the 23 financial year, of the 22 homes that were sold, 19 of them, or 85%, occurred from January to June. So, I mean, no one sells their house in October or September. It just doesn't happen.
Jonathan, what is happening? There's an email that went around last night that said that 3 years ago we sold approximately 90 homes. 2 years ago we sold 60 homes. This year we have sold 22 homes. And now we have 3 homes for sale. I don't see a lot of turn coming over the next.
And if I had a crystal ball, I would absolutely, tell you all about it. But I don't. There's no doubt that based on, I've analyzed the last 12 years of home sales, and in the years of 14 and 15, we had an escalation, an average of 50 per year. And then the following year, 16 and 17, dropped to an average of 25 per year. So, I mean, it's quite possible that we're in that down cycle for sure. The lowest number of homes ever sold in the community in the last 12 years was 2012 at 20. So right now at 27 as an estimated projection, it's not an absolute number. And if there's a downturn, if we hit 18 or whatnot, that doesn't change the plan. So it's a fluid a number, and we're watching it every month, and we'll make adjustments and decisions on the board level and management level as we go.
So I appreciate the presentation you made, and I was here last year when Ryan, who obviously is no longer here, but the board was represented, and he said that if we don't sell 27 homes, it's going to be over. Now, information I got from the Homeowners Association this morning was that we sold 19 homes in the fiscal period September 1 to August 31. 19. So far,
22.
I'm telling you what Homeowners Association gave me from the number of homes that they have closing, the homes that closed from the period of September 1 until August 31. There were 19 closings, not counting the Windermere Shuffle.
I mean,
you asked the question, or was brought up about if we didn't sell 27 homes, we would pause. And so the response is from the Homeowners Association, which is accepting money for closings of homes, we've had 19 closings for that fiscal period, September 1 until August 31.
It's literally 22, and I accept $125,000 for each one, so I'm well aware of what the number is.
We can debate this all you want, JB, but I'm telling you what I got from homeowners, okay? Let me give you another stat that I got just this morning from Heather over at the homeowners. Year to date here in 2023, we've had 20 home closings, not counting the Windermere Shuffle, was the number she gave me. I'm happy to share this with you, and you can debate that with her all you want.
I don't need to.
Okay?
Excuse me, it seems like whenever we have some money in our pot, you guys want to spend it. And in fact, excuse me, and I just, your projections about the 27 homes, I mean, I don't think that's realistic under today's, with 3 homes for sale. But, you know, with money in the pot, you say no assessment. When that is depleted, where's the money have to come from for the next things that you're going to do? It just keeps, we just keep spending money. You know, and I'm not disagreeing the fact that this is all really good, really terrific. Is it needed? I'm not sure. I mean, this is this is a retirement community for most people, and this kind of fancy learning center, that's almost what a pro would look to have. We're not pros, and in fact, I just think that we should look at what we spend and maybe look at trying to reduce our debt instead of going crazy with all this stuff.
Jean Furby. I have a couple comments and one question. I'm a brand new golfer. I'm certainly not a pro. I went over to Gray Oaks after Kyle gave me some fabulous lessons and videotaped me on the iPad and tried to show me things, and it was wonderful, but his hands are tied with an iPad. I went over to get fitted for clubs, and I had a lesson in their fantastic learning center. I learned so much from that one lesson, brought it back to Kyle. They emailed Kyle my results. They emailed me my results. So I'm brand new. I am not a pro. I think that is wonderful for everyone. That's number one. And number two is my question. Well, first of all, thank you all for doing so much work, both members and staff. You guys have done a fantastic job. My one question is, can we start tomorrow? Because this is awesome.
Okay, that's it for the questions. Fantastic. Dan Grail up here.
Dan Grail. How does the, okay. How does the cart barn relate to any of, where's Kyle?
So the question was, how does the cart barn reflect from all of these projects? And I know that in this fiscal year capital monies that we do have money to go ahead, that's already been approved at the board level, to go ahead and get the roof redone, get a new staff area that's fully climate controlled. We get new bag rack locations in there, talking about the ventilation, the fans up at the top. So there are capital monies that are done off of the asset reserve study that are going to be approved at the board level, as we do every year. And that all, as Jonathan can confirm with me, that will all be done in potentially the same time frame while we're in there disrupting the rest of it. We would get that other stuff done as well.
But it's not a replacement.
Nope.
Have you seen the inside of the cart barn? It is the most beautiful building I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the roof structure, it was originally the dance hall for the club. I mean, it's the most, you wouldn't want to ever tear that thing down.
So we're going, Ed Mayotte again. We're going to have this beautiful building out by the cart barn. How many more people are we going to have that are going to be staffing this?
As Jonathan would say, we need 2.5. So we're looking at, potentially, and then all this stuff has been, programmed in, projected out in the number that was shown up there on exactly what we would maybe considered hidden costs or operational costs of it. That's the $257 for the year.
My question is, I forgot. What? Oh, Kitty Kemp, I'm sorry. How long would the range be closed next summer? Would it be the entire summer?
Good question. Range closures, if everything that proposed is approved to go through, we're looking at, of course, working on the lake work as soon as possible, which would be right around that April 1st timeframe, but trying to minimize any disruption to any golf or any events or tournaments until April the 20th. April 20th until November 1st. That's the timeframe that we would be looking at for disruption of the driving range itself. So all projects would be completed from April 20th until November 1st.
So we would have no range at all next
No
summer?
range at all. And we would do everything we can for local clubs. We've done a lot for all the clubs that are here between Kensington and Bears Paw and Naples Grand. And if we wanted to go ahead and need a place for someone to practice, of course, we would make those connections and do everything we can.
Are we to assume at this point, if what's been planned for the budgets and the numbers, that there is no assessment for the golf master plan? The golf course master plan?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Rick Rubin, want to thank you all for all the hard work and effort. Really appreciate it. One question, will the staging area for the golf carts change at all during any of this?
No, there's going to be no real adjustment to the staging area that we have outside of the ladies' locker room that's near the tiebreaker. Everything that would be adjusted, where we talk about grading and other things, everything is going to be pretty much focused on the driving range there itself, pretty much on the other side of that path on the driving range side. So the cart staging area is not going to be touched.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up to the comment by the nice lady in the back. I didn't catch her name, but this is our 5th club in Ohio and North Carolina. 3 of them have done golf learning centers. And very similar to the tiebreaker that we now have, it's beyond expectations in terms of utilization, enjoyment. So it does sound very fancy. I get the comment from the gentleman earlier, but from a practical, will the membership use it? Will they like it? Will they completely buy in? It's amazing what that does for even beginner golfers and how much they get from a facility like that. 2 of them are 2 bays. One of them is 3 bays, our club up in North Carolina, and they're sold out. So I really appreciated the added detail that you mentioned, Kyle, about we want to make sure that there's enough time for member utilization of a facility like that. It really does mean a lot, because otherwise you're just booked out. So it sounds fancy, but I'm telling you, it's beyond expectations in terms of member commitment to something like that.
Thank you, Dave.
Hi, Bob Kozak. My question on the increase in dues, aren't we pretty much in line with other clubs as far as a percentage or not? It seemed like you sent out statistics, and it looked like we were right in line with others, and some even less increases. But I hear this 10, 20%. Is it that much that we've increased?
Well, this past year, the dues did increase 12%.
Okay.
I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, inflation on a national level has been 25%. And then you focus that on the Southwest Florida model, which has escalated. I mean, everyone's houses property values have doubled. The labor market is crazy. So there's a national model, and then there's a localized model. And I think that we've done pretty well considering all the expansion projects that we've done. Our goals of consistently improving both the facilities and the manpower that run them. So.
And I couldn't agree more. I just don't see where it's that out of line. And as far as some of these projects, like Dave said about this elaborate learning center, will I use it? I don't know. But look at the fitness center. That was elaborate. And everybody, and I did not say everybody, but so many said, do we really need something that elaborate? Tell you what, it's pretty nice. I love it. So, thank you so much to the board and everybody's put in this hard work. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob. Just as somebody passed this sheet to me, there's a sheet here of it's 30 Naples clubs, and it shows what their annual dues are, what their dues increases. I know you can't see the numbers, but at the top here is Gray Oaks and Wilderness and Quail West. Windermere's 2/3 of the way down the list. We are the best value in Naples.
Hello, John Grumbles. This is for the full-timers. Will you have mats and nets that we can hit 3 or 4 balls before we go off? Will you have a place where we can hit some balls before we go in the summer?
Yes, so when we start looking at, if this project is approved and the green golf course, number 1 itself, the actual green itself will be, shut down, we've got a lot of space there on the green golf course to use some things. We do have some nets from the last time that we had them. I'm fully capable of putting those back up, location, timing, where they're going to be. Not quite sure, but if the demand is there for the membership just to have a few swings before you go out there, we can absolutely accommodate.
All right, with that, I know there's still some questions, and it's okay. I promise I'll answer your question. We need to go. This has been a long meeting, a lot of data. The questions will get answered. If you have one, send it in, put it on the piece of paper. I promise an answer. I hope you join us next week at the Activity Center presentation. Thank you.